This is the Boys Podcast from TV Podcast Industries. We're back, this time talking about the first 3 episodes of Gen V, Season 1.
Marie, I had to.
I didn't see anything.
You don't understand what Brant did, okay? You don't know about the woods.
What?
Okay, please, he fell asleep with a camel lit in his mouth and he burned himself.
Yeah, for sure. Our secret.
Why did you have to come, Marie?
Welcome back, fellow alumni and boys and girls. We're back on the Boys Podcast on TV Podcast Industries. This time, we're talking about Gen V. We're talking about the first 3 episodes. Episode 1, God U. Episode 2, First Day. And Episode 3, #ThinkBrink. I'm one of your hosts, Darick.
Hello there, fellow boys and girls. Yes, I'm one of your other hosts, John. We are delving into something, dare I say it, completely different from what we've been covering recently. Mm-hmm. And we are going to ride that pony, just like Emma did, I guess, in this episode.
I guess so. We are back with our interestingly PG podcast about the boys' shows, John.
Yes, a very un-PG show.
Yeah.
So yes, we're back in the boys universe, and Gen V certainly doesn't give up at all on the boys ethos. Fantastic stuff. Really enjoyed these first 3 episodes. Good to be back in this world of irreverence and just pure, oh my god, they did that moments.
Absolutely.
And so we'll be covering the first 3 episodes that are dropping on the release of Gen V on the 29th of September.
Yeah, we've been very lucky to see the episodes in advance before they're released, so we are recording in advance. We are going to separate it out, though. We're going to record our sections about Episode 1, and then a section about Episode 2, and then a final section about Episode 3, so you can listen along that way. We're not going to spoil the future episodes, just going to talk about each episode as we go, as we usually do on our podcast covering each episode of the show.
Indeed.
But as I said, as always, a little bit of a challenge for us covering these shows, even when we absolutely love the boys' universe. Just because our main feed is for everybody, it just means that some of the content we kind of have to talk around a little bit, which is always a good challenge. I love that on the boys.
But strap yourself in for double entendres galore as we get into the Gen V podcast here on TV Podcast Industries. If you are a new boy and girl to the podcast, then of course you are more than welcome, and you can head on over to tvpodcastindustries.com where you can subscribe to any bloody podcast player of your choice. We also love to get your feedback on all things about Gen V as well. All the thoughts, comments, observations, theories, and dare I say it, screams or shout out loud moments.
Or laugh out loud moments.
Or laugh out loud moments, or gasp out loud moments, you name it. But you can send emails to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com, or you can pop over to our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industries, where we have spoiler posts for each and every episode of Gen V.
Absolutely. And we will be kicking off our Gen V pub quiz with this episode. We'll be asking one question about each episode on each podcast. So at the end of the series, all you have to do is gather together the answers to all 8 questions of the pub quiz and email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com with the correct answer to be in with a chance to get your hands on some Gen V goodies.
Excellent stuff. Darick, let us get into our spoiler-filled discussions about episode 1 of Gen V, God U. Darick, kick us off with all the episode details. Who gave us what, when, where, how, and why?
Well, lots of people involved in Gen V, the spin-off of The Boys. It was developed by Craig Rosenberg, Evan Goldberg, and Eric Kripke, of course. Craig was a writer of 5 episodes of The Boys and an executive producer. Evan Goldberg is an executive producer and well known as Seth Rogen's producing partner for all the shows they produced together. Eric Kripke, probably the most well known because he was the showrunner and lead writer on The Boys and creator of Supernatural as well.
Yes, indeed he was. Who is the showrunner for Gen V, though?
The showrunners for this show are Michelle Fazekas and Tara Butters, calling back to some of our very early podcasts, John. Michelle and Tara got their big break on Agent Carter.
Excellent stuff.
And they were wonderful over there,
yes.
So great to see them coming into this crazy world of The Boys. This, of course, is based on the comic series from Garth Ennis and Darick Robertson. Executive producers include Eric Kripke, Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg, and, of course, Garth Ennis and Darick Robertson. This episode, though, was written by Craig Rosenberg, Evan Goldberg, and Eric Kripke, the creators.
Good stuff, yes.
And the episode was directed by Nelson Cragg, who directed 2 episodes of The Boys in season 3, including the infamous Herogasm episode, John.
Yes, I believe a penis does make an appearance, though, as well. Quite a up-close, zoomed-in appearance as well in this episode. So,
well, there are 2.
Strap yourself in, shall we say,
yes.
And prepare for the ride of your life.
Well, John, speaking of which, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for Gen V Episode 1, God U?
Sure. 8 years ago, as Marie Moreau's parents watch A Train get inducted into the 7 on TV, she has her first period. In that moment, she realizes that her power is the power over blood. Unfortunately, she has no control of her powers and kills both her parents, while her younger sister watches on. Marie spent the intervening years at Red River Institute for orphaned supes, honing her powers, and received a scholarship to Godolkin University for gifted supes. At God U, Marie meets her roommate Emma, who can shrink to a tiny size and has her own TikTok channel. As Little Cricket, Marie has dreamed of becoming a crime-fighting hero, but she has been denied access to the essential Crime Stoppers course led by Richard Brinkerhoff by his gender-swapping TA Jordan Lee. After confronting Professor Brinks, he still refuses to allow Marie on the course. While returning to her dorm, Marie, with the help of top student Andre, stops a young man being chased by campus security. Andre invites her on a night out with all the top students of God U, including Golden Boy, his persuasive girlfriend Kate, and Jordan. But when Andre's chat-up line goes wrong, slitting the throat of a woman at the nightclub, Marie stays behind to save her. This earns praise from onlookers, but to cover up for the top students, Professor Brinks expels her. When Marie goes to confront him, she comes across Golden Boy, who is using his firepower to melt the professor. Having witnessed the act, Golden Boy chases Marie from Brinks' office, but is stalled by Jordan as Marie runs to Andre. Golden Boy catches up with her, but is calmed by his best friend, Andre. Before whispering something to him, he flies into the sky using his powers once again to explode himself, showering the onlookers in blood and bits.
And with that, yes, we are definitely back in the world of The Boys.
Yes,
everybody
indeed.
Covered in blood, guts and gore. No Huey in this season from The Boys, who's usually the one that is head to toe covered in blood. So we get everybody at the university covered in blood pretty much in this opening.
We certainly
moment.
do. And of course, you know, Marie, what an intro and what a superpower as she slices and dices her parents with blood power.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are going to talk about our major moments from the episode this time because we're going back to school. We are talking about our freshman, which is our small moment, our sophomore, which is our medium moment, and our senior, which is the other outstanding moment from the episode. Let's kick off with our freshman moment. I think we need to talk about Emma.
I think we do.
Possibly my favourite character in the show so far.
Definitely.
Really enjoying this character of Little Cricket because she's just a fun foil for Marie, who's very serious, coming to the school, trying to make sure she doesn't F it up, as she's told often by many people around her, and meets Emma, who just wants to have the wild college lifestyle, doesn't believe that she's going to get into crime stopping or anything like that. Her power is that she can shrink herself down to a tiny size, and she's used that to get a bit of fame in through TikTok, get a bit of fame through some online followers.
Yeah, as little cricket.
Yeah.
I love Emma here as well. I mean, I just like the fact, she, as you say, she just wants that university kind of, I guess, more chillaxed experience. She wants the roomie, which she's got with Marie.
Yeah.
And
hopefully a threesome.
Hopefully a threesome, constantly going through her mind, as well as the bongs and the various different drugs are in and around campus. So,
yes.
like, two very different people here. I do like the fact that they are roommates here, because at this moment in time, it's just the kind of chalk and cheese, as you say, with Marie just wanting to keep her head down and to be a diligent student, ultimately.
Exactly.
Whereas, yes, Emma's mind is wandering and so on. She does get her chance for a bit of action here from one of the guys also in her drama and acting classes that she is taking here. But we do see Emma's shrink power being utilized here with one of the other students who wants her to get small so that his penis, I guess, expands differently. It just looks bigger. It's
oh my God, this moment. Just, when he's saying to her, is it the biggest one you've ever seen? And Emma just kind of looks at him and goes, well, relatively, obviously, yes.
Absolutely.
Well, say it then. Like, it is so horrible.
Yeah, definitely. I just love that she is swinging from the head or the fountain pen nib, as we'll say, and she's just holding on really hard. But he obviously wants a bit of pain here as she slides down the shaft, slapping the old plums very hard. And I just love the look on her face, is one of just pure, I'm hating this, but also it inspires her to slap harder and harder. But I must say, I wasn't expecting that, but it is, I guess this is certainly, not to be unexpected, given the director also covered Herogasm, the big hero orgy, with supes.
I also think there's a little moment with Emma where you can tell at her face, it's kind of like, is this actually doing anything for you? Like, what is the story? What is your major malfunction, as they'd say?
I mean, her face has this kind of look of "don't touch me," but as she's holding on to his penis, and it's just, I mean, it's just some kind of like porn horror movie, I guess, that's happening to her. I do also think there was quite a hilarious moment as we realize that she has to puke to get little.
That's awful,
which is awful, but what is quite hilarious is how the hair clip in her hair, which she holds her hair back so she doesn't get puke in it, becomes much bigger.
Yeah.
I mean, it's done really well, and I have to say, I giggled at that. But, in this moment, the question is, oh, okay, she effectively has to force herself to throw up or to purge in order to enact her superpower, which is to go small.
Yeah, it's not exactly
It's not the best way.
The greatest thing to do just before you have sex either, is it? Like,
No,
you're
but
definitely not going to be in the mood for it afterwards, right?
But I mean, what about Superman having to sort of chuck two fingers down his throat in order to then fly or become the Man of Steel?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty horrible thing to have to do. But again, even when Emma's trying to convince this guy, it's not going to work. Like, biologically, I'm going to be tiny and you're going to be big. That's not going to work.
Yeah, and potentially she could have drowned as well from that experience as well.
Yes, potentially.
Poor
Emma.
Yeah. But, I mean, this is our introduction to Emma, Marie's roommate. And, at this moment in time, there is a chalk and cheese element to these two. But, yes, what an introduction to Emma.
Absolutely. Let's go on to our medium moment, our sophomore moment from the episode, because really we do have to talk about Marie. This episode certainly puts her right at the center of the story. Kind of mentioned it obviously in the synopsis, but Marie's journey to Godolkin University is a different one than you'd be expecting for a lot of these students. You know, the opening scene is based 8 years ago when we see A-Train getting inducted into the Seven.
Yes, in a post-racism world, which is
ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it is, and it's also just that sort of notion.
It's just Madeline's version of what's happening in Vaught. What is interesting, if you remember from The Boys, that Black Noir is also a black member of the Seven.
Yeah.
Yet Madeline calls out here that A-Train is the first black member of the Seven, right?
Yeah.
So she's saying now it's post-racism, basically because he can be unmasked, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And they may not actually have said that Black Noir was a black man.
Yeah, exactly. So during this event on TV, which Marie doesn't really care about at all, Marie's just having fun with her little sister at the time, we see her powers come about because she has her first period and finds out that she can power over the blood, effectively. Like, what a horrible situation to be in if you realize that your superpower comes out at the same time when you're having your first period, which you have no idea what's happening. Like, she's completely lost. She thinks that she just has a stomachache and she's going up to the bathroom to sort herself out. Her mom's calling after her saying that she wants some Pepto to deal with the stomach problems that she's having, and then not only does she find out that she's got her period, she finds out that she's superpowered.
Well, exactly. And I mean, it's not just any old superpower. It is one involving her blood, being able to control her own blood, which has been activated through Compound V at this really, significant moment in her development, with her first period. Yeah. And I mean, this is the thing. No control. In fact, no knowledge that this would happen at all. And
exactly,
it kind of looked like a red version of the Abyss with the water stuff floating up. And of course, to Andre's sort of nicknames he's trying to give her, Bloody Mary in the aftermath, it is kind of appropriate, really, because this blood is almost like shards of glass. It's destructive and kills her mum and then her dad as her younger sister watches on. So what transpires here is, she is orphaned. Her younger sister is placed in another family, or at least away from her, and she's in the Red River Institute, where with the ambition to get into Godolkin University, she wants to become the first female black member of the Seven as well at Vaught. And
we've seen the Red River Institute a few times now. We've seen it in other episodes of The Boys. So this is a place that only superhero or only superpowered kids who are either left there by their parents or who have lost their parents, who are orphaned. That's where they are. So that's why Marie and her sister would be separated, because her sister obviously doesn't have powers, right? So or at least that's what we know so far. But it's interesting, even the counselor in Red River Institute is saying to Marie, it's very rare that someone will be taken from here and put into Godolkin University. She's obviously passed quite a lot of tests that a lot of people don't do.
Exactly. No, exactly. And it's interesting because all of this, in a sense, like, it puts her out of step with her fellow students at God U. I do like it when Jordan and is giving her the bad news that she won't go into, this big class with Professor Brink, because all the Seven have always had to have this Crime Stopper course, in order to get into the Seven, but she doesn't have a phone. She has no idea of Insta or TikTok and all this kind of stuff. She's not, like, in that sense, social media savvy like the other students. And you have Emma saying, are you Amish?
Is Black Amish a thing?
And it's just like, I just love this. She is a fish out of water. Because literally everyone at God U is doing selfies, they're doing Insta, they're doing TikTok. The promotional stuff you see on this is like so about, and you're going to learn skills such as crime stopping and brand awareness.
Exactly.
You know, and it's just like really, really good.
And I suppose because you come at it from the lens of having watched The Boys, and you know that everybody that was chosen to be a member of the Seven, it isn't because they're superheroes, it's because their branding works really well with Vaught, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of what it is. Homelander's too powerful. They can't kick him out of the Seven no matter what he does. Whereas everybody else is in there to hit target demographics and to hit media sales and to hit all that kind of stuff. So someone like Marie being completely unknown and coming from an orphanage, unless they can create a great story around her, probably is unlikely to make it to the Seven, which is probably the reason why Jordan decided not to put her in there on behalf of
it's kind of the thing of, well, you know, is blood superpower really going to work in, I guess, most of the world?
Well, yeah.
Who knows? And really, this is the uncomfortable truth as to why Jordan is saying, you know, you're not a fit for this Crime Stopper course run by Professor Brink. So, you know, again, it's not certain what's going to happen here. And of course, it becomes even more uncertain with the invite to some of the top ranked students. I mean, that's the other thing here. You've got this competitive ranking of students. So you have Golden Boy that we see introduced here being top ranked 1.
Yeah. Played by Patrick Schwarzenegger.
I know. Not that I could recognize his father at all, you know?
He's very, very Maria Shriver.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But very interesting. I was expecting him to affect an Austrian accent at some point in the episode, but he didn't. But it is interesting, isn't it? You know, I say that Marie's not going to make it into the Seven because they're chosen for different metrics, different reasons behind that. And interestingly, in this episode, twice she's the one that does the super heroic thing, sort of. She's the one that stops a person on campus who's being chased down by campus security, so she uses her powers to stop him, and Andre steps in to close it out basically and stop this kid, and he gets taken out by campus security, and that's the reason she gets invited along by Andre to this night out with the top 3 students and Marie.
Yeah, which again, she is the one that uses her blood powers, which I thought was really cool. It's just the other side of it, and she saves this lady in the bar, a bystander, because Andre is trying to impress a girl at the bar who he's hitting on with his supe powers. Yeah. And effectively it slits her throat, and I love how she kind of just sort of pushes it back into her body to stop her from bleeding out across the dance floor.
Do you know, one of the things, again, with The Boys, things just come out of places that you just don't expect at all. I thought that moment when Andre's chatting up the girl in the bar and he uses his magnetism powers to create the hummingbird, and he's saying he's going to get it into drink. I just thought it was a fun little moment, and then someone happens to knock him in the arm and it goes through a woman's neck and almost kills her. It's just the kind of things that, you know, they talk about, you know, if things like lightsabers were in the real world, there'd be people walking around with no arms all the time because nobody could keep those safe. It's the same thing with these supe powers. If they were in the real world, people would be dead left, right, and center because they're too powerful to be out in the real world with other people around them. You know, you see some of the training things that they do with Golden Boy, where he's training against another kid in school and rips off his arms. Luckily, the guy has the power of healing and is able to reattach those arms.
Exactly.
But it was a shocking moment. I definitely didn't expect it to go that far, and I didn't expect this moment in the nightclub to go that far either.
Well, that's it. But ultimately, you know, this act of heroism where she's the only one that doesn't run, she is the one that saves the lady, but it's rewarded by Professor Brink with he's going to expel her. Yeah. Because he needs to protect the reputation of, you know, the top students here, which is Golden Boy. It's his favorite, Jordan. It is Andre, whose father, Polarity, is on the trustee board of the school. All these people need to be protecting, and certainly because we see Golden Boy getting accepted into the Seven, And him being shown in his supe costume that will be made for him by Vaught as he joins the Seven. So
the one that makes sure the world won't see his balls every time he changes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Every time he uses his powers. Yeah.
Because all his clothes burn off as he burns bright like the sun. So, she is kind of being sacrificed here. But I do like Brink's little story in the sense that he understands that she does realize what it is to be a hero. And he says most of these other people, including Golden Boy, don't, because being a hero is about sacrifice.
Yeah.
As he tells of just an anecdotal tale of someone jumping into the sea in Scarborough to rescue their dog. The dog is rescued, but ultimately the sacrifice is the dog owner's life, because he gets washed out into the sea and dies and drowns. So
it doesn't make him any less a hero, but that's heroism. Yeah.
And he also does say, and blood powers are not going to be acceptable for Middle America. So, I mean, in a sense, he absolutely understands that she would be good.
Yeah.
But he's probably got pressures from Vaught and you name it. So, it's kind of, I think in this moment, there's a couple of little touches that the director uses here, both after she's been given that news of being expelled, and they use these flashbacks of Marie back to that opening. So you see this flashback to her younger sisters and her reaction, where she says, "You're a monster, you killed them." And earlier we get where actually Marie kind of bonds with Luke and actually tells him the truth about her past in the end, and realizes that Luke's brother has also died, Sam. And so, she tells him the truth and owns up that she was lying and says, "I don't really know why I did that." But again, as she's going through this, there's these flashbacks, which kind of really adds meaning to Marie's recollection here as she's telling Luke, and Luke in response says, being a hero is not what it appears. If you do it for you. So even at this stage, I guess he's the closest to being brought into the Vaught fold. He's got some kind of inkling or warning from Professor Brink.
Well, absolutely. I guess we should move on to that. That's our major moment from the episode, is Golden Boy versus Brink.
Yes, absolutely.
Obviously we talked about Marie's journey throughout the episode, but Golden Boy has his own journey, and it's interesting to see. He's the person that is, literally, he is named Golden Boy, and everybody in the school aspires to be him.
Yeah.
We see there's other things going on with Golden Boy. He's hearing voices. He's hearing someone call out to him. You mentioned that he talks to Marie and tells her about his past, that his brother has died before. And we see a moment when, after being offered this place in the Seven, and it's still to be confirmed, there'll still be a couple of months before he will get to be in the Seven. But after that, we see Marie going to confront Frink and walking into the office and seeing Luke burning his favourite professor up.
Yeah, we do. Getting naked, effectively, with Professor Brink to burn him up and to turn him into ash, effectively. Yeah, no, I mean, so it's this sudden twist, because literally the last kind of scene we saw with these two, he was being accepted into the Seven, and Brink was giving him the good news.
But you saw in the hug between the two of them, you saw Luke looking over his shoulder, not very happy with this decision. You saw there was something going on there, that he wasn't particularly taken with the idea that Brink was bringing him into the Seven.
No, but like you say, there's something else going on with Luke, because he's hearing voices, after he's coked up and hit the molly at the nightclub. He actually sees the woods. He's speaking to his girlfriend Kate about the nightmares that he keeps on having with the woods, and he doesn't know what any of it means, and it's all just kind of down to stress or something like that. But in the club with all the drug taking, he does feel immersed in a woodland and hears and sees his younger brother
Yeah.
that has died. So all of this is kind of playing on his mind throughout this first episode that you see.
Exactly. And then we have the battle between Jordan and Golden Boy as he's trying to chase down Marie, who's just witnessed the murder of Brinks. Marie gets away, runs past. Jordan fighting against Golden Boy, I thought was really cool. I love the version of the powers effectively as Jordan switches between both his male and female versions.
Cool. Yeah.
And it seems like they're invincible when they're twisting between male and female versions. It seems like every time they take a punch, it doesn't injure them as long as they're changing. So we kind of see that a little bit when Brink shoots Jordan and she changes from female to male, it stops the bullet.
Yeah, so it's almost like in the male form, Jordan is almost a man of steel. Like he can, he's almost indestructible and made some, it's
maybe that's it. Yeah.
Something like that. And then when he's changed to his female form, Jordan seems to have the power of quickness. She was darting around. It was mainly in the male form that Jordan kind of had to hold and confront Golden Boy.
Yeah.
And I think it was whilst in the female form that Jordan manages to get the punch in on Golden Boy, which also Emma does say he is uncut as well.
Yes, because you can't cut him like Superman.
Yeah. So gets the hashtag dick punch in, of course, on the uncut penis.
Yes.
Hashtag uncut penis.
This is going to be a tough season, isn't it?
It is going to be hashtags.
But he does manage to pacify Jordan and makes it outside and sees Marie and Andre. But Andre is able to calm him down, telling him, I love you. You're my best friend. What are you doing?
Yeah.
He seems to calm him down enough to be able to get him to realize almost what he's done. But
in that realization as well, how far he has gone comes to him, and he does whisper something in Andre's ear as he then takes off to shine bright like a sun above the campus of God U before kerploding. It's cloudy with a chance of blood, guts, you name it, I guess, falling down.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And that's the first episode of Gen V. What did you think of the episode overall, John?
Really, really like this. I felt this just absolutely hit the ground running. It just, great introduction to Marie here. I love the kind of fish out of water vibe that she has at God U. Even though it's where she wants to be, it's like all the other students are looking at her as though she's slightly weird because she's constantly having to sort of ask about certain things like Insta or TikTok or has to keep saying,
your phone, please?
I don't have a phone, she keeps saying. So, loved all that. Obviously, loads of great stuff with Emma, include, riding the pale horse, and I just thought, wow. But potentially, with some difficult stuff ahead around how she has to sort of activate her superpowers. Again, the ending, loads of intrigue there with the death of Brink. So for me, I
what
give
happened to Luke?
Yeah. So, and what happened to Luke, and also seemingly involving his brother. So I give this 4.5 period powers out of 5.
There you go. What a great start to the season. I just wanted a quick note that I didn't mention. I did love in the speech about the school that some of the former alumni from the Crimson Countess Performing Arts School have gone on to such shows as So You Think You've Got Super Talent, Pretty Little Liars, and Riverdale. So that's how the Riverdale cast got their abs.
Absolutely.
There you go. They were all supes.
And also the other sort of nickname or soup name that Andre comes up with for Marie is Coagula as well, which was quite good.
It's quite smart.
I like that one a lot. I thought that was smart. And again, just that little bit of connection with Andre, certainly after the end of this episode being actually remaining at God U unlike Golden Boy, who's exploded himself effectively.
Exactly.
So, just that little bit of connection there with Andre, especially given the both of them saw this kind of escapee running through the campus,
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've got one last piece of business for this episode before we move on to episode 2. John, what's the pub quiz question for this episode?
Yes, fellow boys and girls, fellow quizzers, we are kicking off a new pub quiz for Gen V. It is student night at the pub. It is quiz night at the pub.
Yeah.
So question 1 for episode 1. What year was the Red River Institute established?
Very good. So that's the Institute for Orphaned Supes, where Marie was.
Yes.
Do you want to get the question one more time, John?
Certainly. What year was the Red River Institute established?
Great stuff. We are going to head on to episode 2. You can pause there if you haven't seen episode 2 yet, or carry straight on through with us. Let's go on to Gen V episode 2, First Day.
I knew I had to stop Golden Boy before he killed more innocent people. It was down to me. Where did you find that kind of courage? I'm superhuman, right? I'm made of steel.
Welcome back, boys and girls, to the Boys Gen V podcast on TV Podcast Industries. We are talking about and onto Gen V Season 1, Episode 2, First Day.
Mm-hmm.
Just not of the rest of your life if you're Luke.
Well, exactly. When this episode started and I realised that they hadn't even started classes yet and everything that happened in the first episode happened, I thought they were there for about, the first week of college. This is the first day of the university starting now in the second episode. So lots has already gone on for poor Marie on her after arrival at God U.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, even just the opening of this with no lucky lose. It sounds like that real kind of as though you speaking to children, rather than keep out, stay out, or police forensic line or whatever it might be. It's no lucky lose. And we see it on Professor Brink's door as well.
Yes.
So it's kind of okay, they might be at university, but it seems like they are still being treated like children, even by the university themselves. But there's no lucky lose whilst the cleanup of Golden Boy is in active operation.
Yeah, and I do like that those signs all have Black Noir on them, who's probably one of the most brutal of the the supes out there in the 7th. So he's probably had lots of those bloody events surrounding him. Good stuff. Let's go straight into our coverage of episode 2 of the show.
Yes. Darick, what are some of the episode details for episode 2, First Day?
Well, showrunners for the entire show are Michelle Fazekas and Tara Butters. These are, of course, based on the comic series from Garth Ennis and Darick Robertson. Executive producers include Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. This episode was written by Zack Schwartz and Brant Englestein. Zack was a writer and producer on Snowpiercer. And Brant also came from Agent Carter. And we covered him earlier on this year for his episode of Secret Invasion as well.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah. Moving over from Marvel over into the boys' universe with Gen V.
Yeah, good stuff.
Great stuff. And this episode was once again directed by Nelson Cragg, who directed episode 1. John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for this episode? Gen V, episode 2, First Day.
Sure. As the blood and guts of Golden Boy get cleaned up at Godolkin University, the students begin the first day of the new year, while the trustees and Vaught try to figure out how best to reclaim the narrative and spin themselves out of trouble following the previous night's tragedy. Dean Shetty convinces Vaught CEO Ashley Barrett to lead with Andre and Marie as the Guardians of Godolkin, while omitting Jordan's role and casting Golden Boy as a troubled youngster with a chronic drug addiction. And the university prepares for a fundraising gala in memory of Professor Brinkerhoff. But as the day unfolds, Jordan Lee challenges Marie to tell the truth of that night, But as Marie gets star treatment from Godolkin and Vaught with a primetime interview, she doesn't correct the record. Meanwhile, Andre skips his big interview as he and Kate investigate Luke's final words to Andre, finding a mobile phone with a final message from Golden Boy, who discovers Brink's knowledge of an underground facility at Godolkin where his brother Sam is being held. As Andre tries to find the testing facility, he is almost caught and killed by armed security guards, only to be rescued by Kate as the mystery of the woods deepens.
Yes, it does.
It certainly does.
Yeah. Nice to see Ashley back in this episode. She had a little post-credit scene in the last episode, but here we have her talking on the phone in usual Ashley fashion.
Yeah, and in typical Vaught fashion as well. Yeah, I really enjoyed this, actually. You know, just this little bit of the boys oozing in, just this corporate panic stations, you know, to sort of reclaim this narrative.
Well, yeah, she also had millions of dollars worth of merch for Golden Boy that has to go to a recycling place now.
It has to go to a skip,
basically.
A bonfire.
Yeah, I don't think there's much recycling in the boys' world.
No, I don't think so at all. Like, I think, you know, it was just really, really good as the trustees are on with Vaught, you know, and you have Ashley sort of saying, put me on private, you know, and it's like telling Dean Shetty just what she needs to do. So, and then of course all the Vaught social media managers and leaders and the VP in charge of media all being sort of helicoptered into this university in order to salvage the kind of reputation. I mean, we even see it on the news as well, which was really good, where it's like, and in a Vaught poll, it was rated the best university in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course.
You know?
7 times in a row. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, it was really good. But I mean, I do think this was really good, you know, kind of chuck Golden Boy under the bus as the troubled young adult with a drug problem, even though it's certainly not what even Professor Brink would have wanted here.
Exactly.
And also then, you know, and we'll throw in a memorial gala to boot, you know, so that we can have the TV and all that there as well.
Yeah. So we can really get more investment for the college. Yeah, absolutely. And we also see a little bit more control of that leaderboard as well. The leaderboard is chosen by Vaught, effectively. That's the whole purpose of it. So they even call out that Jordan couldn't possibly be number 1 on the board because Jordan has gender swapping abilities and that's not going to play well. So they can't possibly be at number 1. So I guess Andre's the one we're going to put up there at number 1. Yeah. And Marie makes the top 10 instead.
Yeah. So,
which is interesting. Yeah.
Yes, she's number 8, I think she gets to. And Andre is put at number 1.
That number 1 slot, yeah.
Shall we get into our first point, our freshman point of the episode?
I promise we're not doing this on purpose because Little Cricket, Emma, is the smallest character, but she is getting the minor moment from this episode as well, as she got it in the first episode.
Yeah, but also as well, when we say minor moment, it can be small but highly impactful.
Exactly.
Like Emma.
Like this one, yes.
But this one is a little bit more kind of tough for Emma because Little Cricket's power, or at least how she is able to become Little Cricket, does get shared online by one of the girls called Justine, who's in her class at acting. And it's like, you know, Emma's telling her and is partnering up with this girl, who, you know, seems to be really supportive.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
They're doing a video for their course and Emma's like, well, do you want me to just get small? And she's like, no, who do you want to be? And obviously Emma's got a really big crush for Queen Maeve.
Well, yeah.
Wants to be Queen Maeve.
Yeah.
And this girl saying, will you be Queen Maeve then? What we hear is that Emma's mum comes from, you know, TV stardom, celebrityism. So you can sense that there's pressures here on Emma. But here you seem to have Justine who seems to be really understanding.
Yeah.
of that, and
it really
really
does,
support it.
Yeah, and it really does play into one of those fears, really, that you have when you're meeting new people in college. If you're of that age group and you have people sharing everything online, how can you know that you have a real moment and a real connection with somebody? Emma seems like she's made a new friend in Justine and is telling her this big secret that she has to throw up to get herself small. And Justine just goes out and shares it on her own YouTube channel to create content and get followers, basically, you know? We've heard that Emma has been running this TikTok channel for years. Little Cricket has built up her audience and built up a group of people. We did see last episode that those comments that are coming in on her channel aren't terribly complimentary of Little Cricket at this stage. But at least she's done it, and she's done that work herself with her power, turning it into her advantage in some way. Whereas here we have Justine, effectively just using the pain of others to gain herself followers.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
So it's, you know, this is a real tough thing. And again, it's opening up more of Emma's superpower, but what she has to do to achieve it. I mean, in many respects, there is always that kind of sacrifice. Hers is actually, she's taking something like purging, you know, which can be linked to anorexia and all this, you know, which is a really bad condition, really, can, you know, socially, psychologically, there are issues behind that. But that's the only way she is able to activate, becoming small, which is her superpower. Yeah. And whilst we don't hear it here, it'll be interesting to hear Emma's perspective on her having to do that, you know?
Yeah, because it's just being treated like a, isn't it an awful, eating disorder that she has? And Emma's going to go, no, this is how I get small. This is how I use my superpower. You know, in the same way that Golden Boy, his clothes burn off when he uses his superpower.
Or Marie, who has to cut herself.
Yeah, exactly. In the same way, this is just the thing that she has to do to get small. So it's not an eating disorder. It's just part of what comes with being injected with Compound V as a kid. But it's I think it's a really interesting moment. And again, Emma is a really good character, really, really good to watch in each episode so far. Let's go on to our medium moment, John, the investigation.
Yes, of Polarity's groin.
Yes.
This has undertones of father-son relationships that shouldn't happen, as we do realise here that Luke whispered to Andre that your dad has it. And Andre is really kind of wanting to investigate this. And this is coming down to the fact that, you know, you see a real bond between him and Jordan and Kate here, actually at the expense of Marie in many respects.
A bit, yeah, a bit. Marie's pretty comfortable in telling them she doesn't want to be part of it, though.
No, agreed. Yeah, and Marie will give back as good as she gets, for sure. But it leads to Andre ripping a huge hole in his father's super underpants, but of his statue.
Well, his statue, yes, not his actual father.
Not his actual father. But yes, it is laced with problematic father-son relationships here in this moment, as he pulls out a mobile phone from his dad's groin, which has videos of Luke on it, telling via the video that he knows that Sam, his brother, is still alive, and that Brink is involved with a secret facility beneath the university. And that is the guy that Marie had stopped escaping from the campus security, as she thought at the time.
Absolutely. And even more shockingly to Andre, he helped her. And this was his best friend's little brother, you know? He was pretty brutally beaten by campus security, and Andre effectively let that happen.
Yeah,
to his mate's
definitely.
brother,
I think the interesting thing here as well is that, you know, it's tied up into the fact that both Andre and Kate, as well as Jordan, you know, see the trashing of Luke being done by the university's media program with Vaught. You know, you've got, as I say, VP in charge of media, Hayley Miller has been parachuted in by Vaught. You've got Jeff, who is Vaught's social media director, who actually gives Marie a phone. So Marie now has a phone, everyone. Hallelujah. And,
some very nice clothes now.
They're all there to promote Marie and Andre. But in a sense, it doesn't sit well with Andre here because he knows what Luke said to him. He was his best friend. He wants to understand what Luke said to him, but all the time, his best friend is being trashed in all the news clips on campus. So it sits least well with Andre, possibly Jordan as well, because she was there as well.
Yeah.
But it impacts his big interview. It impacts all his dad's wishes. Of his son's big chance. He wants his son to be like him, polarity. He's living through his son, and you get a big sense of that. And you see him getting more and more anxious as the chance passes by because Andre has skipped this big interview effectively to go in and check Brink's office where he finds a file on the Woods and Sam is on file as well, his best friend's brother, who his best friend thought was dead.
Yeah.
So, this kind of mystery and investigation here, because Andre doesn't want to stop there. So, if beforehand being top ranked or second ranked to his best friend was what he was happy with, what he was striving for, now none of that matters to him because of what's happened and because of how it's being treated.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Because as well, I think to our senior moment, it's almost the opposite for Marie, with all this attention going on. So I really liked Andre here, a lot as he then goes investigating to try and get into and access this underground facility. Maybe not fully realizing what it is, but soon realizes that, okay, I'm in a little deep here as just a normal janitor, effectively gets killed by three guards, security guards to the facility.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like that we get to see Kate's power used even more this episode. I thought most parents would be pretty frightened seeing what her power is like, where she's able to just touch someone as we saw in the first episode in the nightclub and say, just let us in, and he'll instantly go with it. Here we get her pushing the security guards that are about to take down Andre, to completely disregard him in favor of doing fellatio on a torch, followed by another act with that torch.
Stick the flashlight up your tight chocolate starfish.
That's the one.
Is the exact words used by Kate and for Tuesday. I mean,
absolutely,
they've just killed an innocent janitor and cleaner. So, quite frankly. They could shove a few more things up the chocolate starfish as well, quite frankly.
Yeah, absolutely. But another element that we see from the boys is it also takes this massive toll on Kate as she uses it. She can use it a little bit, but if she pushes too far, if she makes people too many people do things, it will take a massive toll on her. And we see at the end of the episode, she falls down the stairs effectively into the arms of Andre as she has used too much of her powers there. So I thought that was interesting. Also, I'd mentioned there when they go and visit Luke's place, his apartment or his rooms on campus, everything's been taken out. Everything's been totally taken away, including the drawer full of dildos.
For chocolate starfishes, I guess.
Possibly, yes.
Who knows?
Absolutely. But I just, again, this cover up going on from Vaught all the time, and these kids are kind of falling into this discovery of what the real world is like, effectively.
Exactly. Yeah. Or maybe he just had a regular starfish in an aquarium.
Maybe.
Possibly.
I guess that's it really from the investigation in this episode. We know it's kicking off. We know that they now know about the fact that Luke's brother is still alive and that the facility is underneath Godolkin University. So onto our senior moment, onto our major moment from the episode, which is the big interview and tensions around Marie. So you kind of mentioned it earlier on a little bit, but I did kind of find this interesting when Marie is kind of laying it on the line with Andre and with Jordan, kind of going, look, you guys came here with prestigious results. You are the tops in this college, and you have people literally willing to expel me from the school just to protect your reputation. And it wasn't just Brinks. It was also many of the other classmates on campus who are willing to protect you. I've got nothing and nobody. And if I fall into this investigation of what happened to your friend, who I didn't even know, went out for one night with, then I'm putting myself at way more risk than you are.
Yeah.
I really like that in her character.
Do. I really like this exchange, actually, because I think for two reasons. Just because, like I was saying, Marie's experience is the opposite. Mm-hmm. She didn't know Luke. Actually, he was trying to kill her as well. Mm-hmm. And so all of a sudden, she's been thrust into something which, like she said, is something I've never had.
Yeah.
Andre is there sort of procrastinating to her because of where he is about, that you're just going to step over Luke's dead body, really, to make it big. And she just, comes back, I don't know you and you don't know me. I had nothing. And I'm sorry that Luke is dead. I'm sorry that Brink is dead, but just leave me out of it. And this is the thing, is that she is absolutely sorry about what is happening, but in a sense, she's been thrust into this by Dean Shetty and by Vaught. She's new there. You kind of have her and Emma having a real tense moment, because it's like, I should have just, why did you make me go to the club with these guys?
Yeah.
I should have just stayed back and gone with my mantra, which is, get up, work hard, go to class and all that.
Yeah.
And to try and make it. And,
exactly.
She just stepped outside of her discipline and it ended up with her getting expelled. But the chances are the death of Brinks has meant she's been given a reprieve here. Well, yeah. And now the reprieve is even more that she is getting all this attention from Dean Shetty as well as Vaught, particularly from Hayley Miller, the VP in charge of the interview. So, it's just the difference between the two of them. And I just really enjoyed how this played out.
Yeah. And even just the way that they've created this story around Marie, because, again, just watch the first episode. She went to confront Brink for expelling her, saw what was happening, and then ran, because Luke was threatening to kill her for being a witness. Jordan did stop him, and then Andre stopped him again by his friendship, effectively. Yeah. Marie actually didn't do anything at all other than seeing it and running, and she couldn't have. I'm not criticizing her in any way at all. But Vaught have created this narrative that because she's the guardian of Godolkin, she's the one that caused the death of Luke, stopping him being the murderer.
Well, I do like the choice with the VP, Hayley Miller, just saying, yeah, we're still workshopping it, but at the moment it's like Guardians of Godolkin, but I think there's too many consonants here. And by the end of it, there's too many syllables playing out here. And I do love that sort of, with Andre skipping it, it's the Guardian of Godolkin it becomes. And of course, Guardians of the Galaxy, effectively,
exactly.
Being riffed here. But I really, really enjoyed that. But I also like the other side of this is because, again, interview and so on, but Marie Moreau has now been invited into Brink's Crime Stopper or intro class, which is now being headed by Dean Shetty. And you have here Jordan challenging Marie after the class, to tell the truth about what happened, that it was they that saved her from Luke and prevented Luke from probably doing more damage. And she has this chance to correct that record. But whether it is in that moment of Marie's interview or the fact that ultimately, as she finds out, it's all just scripted by Vaught central office anyway, she doesn't expose that truth. And she doesn't credit Jordan and takes those plaudits.
Yes.
But in the interview as well, she does handle herself quite well because she is, thrown a curveball of the fact that Vaught has tried to reach out to her younger sister that she hasn't seen, you know? And isn't willing to sort of comment on any of this. So again, you see that being dragged up here.
Yeah, and the fact that she mentioned it to the dean of students, Dean Shetty, that she wanted to make her sister proud of her by becoming a famous crime fighter and making enough money to get them back together. So even though Shetty denies it, very likely that she's the one that passed on the information to Haley, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
The other side of it, there's slight breakdown between Marie and Emma as well. Where after the interview, as Marie goes back to the dorm, she kind of, as she walks in, says she thinks she effed up by doing what she did in the interview, but there is no Emma to talk to in the dorm.
Exactly.
So, and you kind of get the sense that, Dean Shetty being hugely manipulative of this young lady, coming from an institution like Red River as an orphan, potentially with issues of trust, and so on.
And where she's literally told that if she goes back there, she's going to be going through a facility way worse than the orphanage was. Yeah.
So, for Marie, you can sense her motivation, and it's right. She wants to make sure that she doesn't go back to that institute. And
exactly.
That's why I just think, her conversation with Jordan, but also with Andre, and just giving her perspective and saying, it's not that I'm not in agreement with you, but I need to look after myself because I have nothing.
Because nobody else will. Exactly. Any notes about the episode? Anything else you want to talk about other than our major moments, John?
No, nothing from my side.
A few quick ones from me. I thought it was really cool seeing PJ Byrne back as the director from Vaught, Adam Burke.
That's true.
Back teaching the film class as punishment for coming on to an actress that has a bit more power within the structure. So I thought that was quite fun. Him being stuck here and saying, if you're sad about your friend, use it. That's what you have to do. Exactly. Really enjoyed that. And also another one of the uses of Kate's power that I really enjoyed in this episode was when Rufus, the blonde-haired kid, who's actually from Supernatural, he was in the final couple of seasons from Supernatural, where he is told that he has to tell the joke that he was telling his mates to Kate, and she punishes him for his criticism of Kate's relationship by telling him to go and get himself a baseball bat and hit himself in the nuts repeatedly every hour, saying Jumanji. And we see it in the background later on in the episode. Really good. I thought that was great. Even at that memorial as well, just seeing the student with the really long arms putting out her arm and videoing herself for her socials, crying, and then instantly the waterworks switch off and she walks away, and seeing Jordan's reaction to someone pretending that they knew Brink to the point that his death would make them cry. Really like that.
Yeah. I do have one quick note as well, because the reason why Jordan isn't actually picked to lead with Andre is because that they won't play well in Fort Lauderdale and other areas like that because of the gender identity aspect there.
Exactly.
It seemed like Professor Brink had, a soft spot for Jordan.
Absolutely.
And that no one really else in the school, certainly Dean Shetty or the other trustees, had the same kind of soft spot for him.
Well, exactly. Even I think Ashley on her call with Dean Shetty says she's just got too much pronoun stuff going on, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
At least that's not exactly the word she said, but very close to. John, what did you think of the second episode of Gen V?
I would give this 4 hot chocolate starfishes out of 5. I again really solid here. I really am enjoying Marie, and I think Andre here is superb. I like the fact that in a very quick turnaround. You know, Marie has gone from being expelled, but to being the face of Godolkin in the aftermath of this tragedy. Whereas her relationship with Emma and with Andre and Kate and Jordan, who she went out with the night before this tragedy, it is all starting to fray a little because of, you know, her sudden zoom up the rankings to number 8. I think, you know, we have Dean Shetty saying, you know, at number 8, you're the first freshman ever to make the top 10 of the rankings. And so it's just interesting. It's almost like in microcosm what fame will do to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I remember, this is first day of the new year,
exactly.
and she's jumped into position 8 on the charts.
Exactly.
Can you imagine what that would be like in school if it was a real-time chart? Like, I understand at the end of a year,
It'd be bloodbath.
you know, yeah, but like I understand at the end of the year they go through the grades and they will say who came top of the year. But can you imagine at the beginning of the year there's suddenly this scoreboard that's up and it's everywhere?
I mean, even now, it's like, you know, there are so many hormones at play going through your teenage years and in university, and all these changes happening in your life. I mean, it would be pure and utter mayhem,
Carnage.
chaos, carnage. Yeah, you name it. If this competitive thing, I mean, I guess that's why they do houses rather than individuals.
Yeah.
Maybe there's just a satirical element here of, you know, the whole boys thing around, you know, this uber competitive world and how you're supposed to navigate that, you know, as a critique of it in a sense. But yeah, I really like this. I would give it 4 hot chocolatey starfishes out of 5. And even with Andre, I think that investigation, the start of that, really intriguing.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Let's go and grab a drink, John.
Yes, fellow boys and girls, fellow quizzers. Welcome to the second part of the Boys Gen V pub quiz. It is the Saturday night on the tiles. It is happy hour for students, and we're down at the pub trying to listen in, slightly tipsy, to the quizmaster. It is question 2 from episode 2. Which band did Andre's father, Polarity, save at Lollapalooza when he was young?
I did like this joke, but yes.
Me too.
John, get it one more time.
Which band did Andre's father, Polarity, save at Lollapalooza when he was young?
Very good.
Yes. Also, because I used to quite like this band as well. Yes.
Interesting.
I went through a moment of these types of bands, to be honest.
Okay, very good. Has a little connection with Golden Boy as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very good. Good stuff. That's the second question. Collect all 8 answers together at the end of the season and email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com to be in with a chance of getting your hands on some Gen V goodies. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode, the second episode of Gen V. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be back with the third episode of Gen V that was released on the 29th of September.
Okay, so the GPS tag's connected to my phone. Remember, just recon, no tiny action hero shit. I think this is where they're keeping him, but if you see anything shady, just bail.
What's his room number again?
Northwest Wing 4. I'll see you in an hour.
Got it. Get it. Got it. Good.
Are you alright?
Yeah, I'm just still stoned.
Sweet Jesus. Okay, just be careful, okay?
You got it.
Welcome back, fellow boys and girls, to our third episode in the epic session that is Gen V Season 1. We're on to #ThinkBrink. Should remind you that I'm one of your hosts, Darick.
Hello there, fellow boys and girls. Yes, welcome back. I am your other host for this episode John.
And we didn't even mention that poor Chris hasn't been able to join us for these episodes, just purely because of the amount of stuff that we're covering at the moment. He only has a certain amount of episodes that he can record with us.
Yes.
So he will be back later on in the season for Gen V, and he has definitely been enjoying it. We were talking to him about it on one of our other podcasts a couple of weeks ago when he watched the first 3 episodes. So he is really enjoying it. Can't wait to come on board. This, of course, a show that Chris brought us, The Boys. We hadn't heard of The Boys before. Chris told us we had to watch the first season, and it's now one of our biggest shows on the podcast. So
yeah, absolutely.
So
and of course, whilst we are thinking about brinking, we should mention, Clancy Brown does play Professor Brink. And of course, on the other show that we're covering at the moment, Star Wars Ahsoka, he was the sort of governor of Lothal in the first episode.
He was, and we also cover him on our coverage of Invincible because he's one of the characters in there.
Yes.
He voiced one of the characters in there. So
good stuff.
Yeah, so we'll get him back for Invincible season 2, hopefully, which is coming out in November.
Always good to get Clancy Brown involved.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Definitely.
Good stuff. Let's pop in to our discussion. We should remind you that you can subscribe to the podcast by going over to tvpodcastindustries.com. And if you have any thoughts on Gen V so far, we'd love to hear them. Email us into feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com or pop on over to our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/tvpodcastindustries. There'll be spoiler posts up there for each of the episodes.
Yes. Also, a quick reminder, we'll be getting into our 3rd installment of the Gen V pub quiz, fellow boys and girls. And it is just that reminder again to gather all 8 answers for the pub quiz questions at the end of the season and email them into us at feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com to be in with a chance to get your hands on some Gen V goodies. It won't be dildos, for sure.
You're really pushing this PG podcast.
I certainly am.
You are, as always. Good stuff.
But they were in the show.
They were.
I'm just being factual.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, let's get on to the episode details for the show. Again, this show is based on the comic series, of course, from Garth, Ennis and Darick Robertson. Producers for the show, Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg, Eric Kripke, and many, many more. This episode was written by Erica Rosby, previously a writer of lots of animated shows, including 9 episodes of Rick and Morty.
Good stuff.
Interestingly, very different sense of humour, but at times, quite similar, I suppose.
For sure. Yeah.
This episode was directed by Phil Skrikia. Phil was a lead producer on The Boys, directing 4 episodes of the show, and worked with Eric Kripke on Supernatural, directing 45 episodes of Supernatural. It did go on 15 seasons.
It did.
And I think we watched every single episode of Supernatural.
Yeah.
Really loved that show.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But when do you get, 45 episodes of TV? Like, we were just saying that sort of recently about how, writers now that come on and do, 1 episode of a 6 episode show that's maybe just 1 season or a couple through the course of 3 seasons or, where there's only 8 shows maximum in a season. And even just thinking back to Supernatural, even like with Agent Carter and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for the showrunners of Gen V. Just the amount of episodes available for you to really hone on in.
Absolutely. 22 episode seasons back in those days, John.
Absolutely.
It's all changed. Good stuff. John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for Gen V episode 3, #ThinkBrink?
Sure. At the Think Brink Gala, the supes' parents descend on the university to mingle and hobnob with all the guests. But tensions begin to surface about Jordan's identity with their dad, while Emma soon realises that her mother may not always have her best interests at heart, as she tries to sell Emma's story as a real-life docudrama to Vaught. As the gala becomes less and less about #ThinkBrink and more about money, Marie also begins to see that Dean Shetty has been using her to save her own neck following the fallout of Brinkerhoff's death and reverse falling donations to the university. Unable to shake the need to be a true hero despite warnings from Kate, Andre desperately tries to think of a way to access the secure experimental facility at Godolkin to scope out a rescue for Golden Boy's brother, Sam. After enlisting Emma to shrink down and access the facility, Andre realizes that his father, Polarity, also knows about it and warns him to drop it before he gets himself killed. Deep undersized and high as a kite, Emma infiltrates Sam's cell, where she convinces him that she is real. Building up a rapport with Sam, Emma tells him that Luke and his friends want to break him out of his prison. When a prison-wide alarm sounds and the facility goes into lockdown, knowing that someone has broken in, a guard arrives in Sam's cell. And before she knows it, Emma, to protect herself and Sam, does the grossest thing possible and heroically forces her way through his cranium, killing him. Emerging from his ear hole, covered in blood, more guards arrive into Sam's cell.
You know, it's tough on these shows calling something the grossest thing ever, because there's been lots and lots of gross things that have happened on this show. But this is up there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the grossest thing, but for Emma it is, because she's covered in blood. And I guess she's had to kind of hold her breath as she has walked, essentially, from one ear hole to the next through someone's sort of sweetbreads, effectively. Yeah. So, yeah, it is pretty grim.
It is.
But I do really enjoy that whole scene down in the woods with Emma.
Yeah.
And Sam, actually. It was really good.
Yeah, it was really good. We'll of course talk about that as we get through our moments from the episode. Let's start out with our freshman or minor moment from the episode. A small moment, but an important moment in the episode, as Polaris speaks to Andre, his son, after finding out that Andre's learnt of the underground woods. We get a warning from Polaris to back off and not speak to anybody about what he knows to Andre, or else he may be killed, effectively.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, this is really good because Andre really is kind of being consumed by this, really, in the aftermath of Luke's death. Although we do have him and Kate sort of connecting in this episode. But, you know, he really wants to kind of, you know, rescue Sam. But Kate here warning him, you know, don't do anything stupid. Like she says, look, I can touch you and tell you not to do it. And he kind of, you know, says, I know you wouldn't do that, as he takes her glove off. I really like that moment. But, you know, this is where Kate's warning to him really comes hitting home for him, because it is his father, Polarity, saying to him...
I think I call him Polaris. It's Polarity. Of course it is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Warns him, you know, to drop this notion of being an actual hero, and especially around saving Sam from the underground hospital. And following it up, Polarity says, you know, or you'll get yourself killed. Yeah. Like, this is serious.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
But I like the fact that it's just, you know, he's hugging him tight, whispering it into his ear as this memorial gala is taking place as well. Really good little moment, actually.
Absolutely. You know, again, we understand in this world of supes in The Boys that most of these adults who may have worked for Vaught in the past are fully aware of how the world works, you know. While he may not have prepared Andre for that as such, Andre is being pushed by Polarity to take on his old mantle. So he knows Andre's going to understand this stuff at some point, but he's been kind of keeping it from him, it seems. Andre didn't seem to believe that his father could know about what's going on underneath God U.
Exactly. And as well, all the way through this episode, Andre is distracted from, you know, what to his father believes to be the most important thing, which is this gala. It's, you know, speaking with the trustees, getting your ratings up with the trustees, you know, putting yourself out there, making that impression. And Andre's been all kind of distracted from that, constantly saying, well, I need to go to the loo, you know, almost trying to get out of it. Again, feeling very comfortable about what he's having to do at this gala memorial and be this number one student, and is making excuses all over the shop with his father, you know.
Absolutely.
It's because his dad thinks he's blown it by missing the interview. You know, he hasn't got his prime time event interview.
Well, exactly.
To rocket him into soup stardom. So this was a really good moment here, because, you know, now as well, Polarity knows exactly why his son is distracted here.
Exactly. I did want to ask something about Kate's powers. I'm wondering about them. We hear her telling the story of when the powers first manifested themselves for Kate, that she touched her brother on the shoulder and said, "Leave and never come back," and he was never seen again afterwards. I'm wondering, could Kate have touched Andre's hand and said, "Don't do anything stupid," and he never does anything stupid again for the rest of his life? Would that have been an interesting use for powers?
Well,
Would it work? Would it work?
It must do.
Because it seems like go away and never come back is quite non-specific.
And they never find her brother's body at all.
Or him ever again.
You know,
he could be alive somewhere, that's the thing, and then they will never know.
Yeah, and you hear Kate telling Marie that her mum and dad never touched or spoke with her again after that, you know?
Yeah, which is pretty brutal when they're the ones that have injected her with Compound V to get superpowers, you know? And you hear that again with Marie's being told, you know, don't shed a tear over your parents anymore. I know you may have killed them, but they're the ones that injected you with this to try and get fame and wealth.
Exactly.
You know? So,
it's not your fault you were given Compound V as a baby, effectively.
Exactly.
So, yeah, really, really, you know, quite rebellious, powerful stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I think here.
Yeah.
And I think this links into our sophomore moment as well. Our medium moments, you know, the parents at the #ThinkBrint Gala.
Yes.
I mean, I actually really loved all of this because it is the whole notion, like with Andre and his father, but with all of them, not even ones that used to be supes as well. The overbearing parent pushing their children down a path that they just simply don't want to go down. And you see that here across multiple members of this group here, even from Kate in that kind of, you know, make-up moment between Kate, Jordan with Marie, you know? And I thought it was really good, in particular the one around Jordan where you have, you know, effectively Jordan's father just being absolutely strung up about which identity, in his mind, his son keeps taking. Whereas, you know, he says, "You are my firstborn, you have a choice." And I love that Jordan comes back to say, you know, I've always just been me, whether I've taken my female or male form. And if you can't see that, you know, well then pity you, effectively.
Exactly.
You know, you don't quite know as well, maybe with Jordan's mum. She seems like she's just trying to tell her husband to just stop, like stop digging your own hole. You know, and digging it deeper and deeper.
Well, you just got to keep that in the back of your mind every time when you're talking to these parents or when you're seeing these parents. These parents injected their children with an experimental drug to give them superpowers, not even knowing what those superpowers were going to be. We saw a kind of a comedy version of that in The Boys Diabolical, the animated spin-off of The Boys, where parents were disgusted by some of their children's powers and threw them into an orphanage.
The one was the Mexican paddling pool.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's that. There's those types of parents, and then there's these types of parents who felt like they were giving their children the best leg up possible. They're in the best school. Jordan is, you know, still top 3 in that school, you know, very high up in the school, but their father can't accept that they will change gender into male or female at will, and is saying, you know, it's not like I don't respect people who have different identities of gender to me, but I don't respect you because you change into female when you can just choose to be male at all times. I feel like you're doing it to undermine me. You're doing it as an attack on me. And Jordan's reaction to it kind of going, well, I'm still the kid that played PlayStation. I'm still the kid that enjoyed doing the things I did. I've always been who I am, regardless of whether I'm male or female.
Well, then even
thought it was really good.
That good moment as they arrive at the dorm and Jordan is having sex with one of the other students as a female.
Yeah.
And as he gets the student to leave, it's still in female form, but speaking in his male voice.
Yes.
But then presents themselves as male when they open the door.
Exactly. In front of their dad. Yeah. I must say, I love that sex scene, how it continues, where you find out that the guy can walk through walls. He walks through naked into the next room, and you just hear a student in the other room going, "Oh, dude, what are you doing?"
Yeah, exactly.
Really fun moment.
Really good.
Really like that. But we also get to meet Emma's mom, the overbearing former host of a Vaught shopping network program, who is pushing Emma down a path of exposing her, as her mom's still calling it, her eating disorder to the world as her way in to create some kind of docu-soap or docudrama for the Vaught network. So this could be her way into becoming famous. She even laughs at Emma's want to be someone more like Queen Maeve, someone that could stand up and show how powerful she is to the world. She's saying, you're not like that. You have to work within the boundaries of what you have, Emma. And this could be your way in. This could be your way to fame. Another very overbearing parent, and another pressure of fame on these people. Well, yeah, but also the great thing in at the gala is when her mom is effectively with the VP for media, Courtney. You have Courtney effectively saying, we want to try and get Vaught into this more gritty, realistic area, and giving all the different kind of taglines that would accompany this show about Emma's eating disorder. And what are the names of the show again? It's Eaten Alive or Feeling Small are the two names that she's workshopping. And it all feels like, it's all a little personal, as, Vaught are wanting this true life drama, looking at inner demons and the eating disorders. And I like the fact that, Emma here gets to tell her mum to F herself. As she puts her daughter down, because Emma's hero is Queen Maeve, but her mum is like, you're no Queen Maeve, effectively. Yeah, so I like. She reveals that it's her mother that taught her how to purge in front of Courtney. And as she walks away, Emma, thinking she's had the final word and has really stuck one to her mom, you hear Courtney saying to Emma's mom, "Oh, just get ready for all the daytime Emmys you're going to be getting for this show that we're telling the real truth." Exactly. It's awful. The other great Emma moment in this episode as well. She's got loads. There is loads. It was where she helps Marie to pee in the big flowy red dress in the bathroom, as they effectively make up and become friends, as she's got Marie's dress hitched up round her neck in the loo, as Marie's going for a pee. And as they sort of become friends again, she hugs her, and the trickle starts. It's just absolutely hilarious. Classic. I loved this moment. It felt really... I don't know. Maybe I'm just weirdly sentimental about it, but I just thought this was kind of like, oh, that's it. Friends are there to help you pee. There you go. Hold your hair back if you've had too many drinks and you need to throw up on the big white telephone, to pee in an inappropriate dress that you've got. So, I really liked this moment. It felt properly good, actually. Absolutely. Good stuff. That's the parents at the hashtag ThinkBrink Gala. I do like just at the end, there's a call out from Dean Shetty when she's on stage, effectively saying there's this whole gala to raise money. You think it's because the school may be going through some troubles, but Shetty calls out that it's actually just to maybe improve the gym a little bit and the music program. It's not something massive that they have to do. It's just another way to get more money into this school that's obviously hemorrhaging it. Well, that's it. I mean, I think, as well, in this moment at the gala, Marie also realizes that she's being used by Dean Shetty, to raise this money, and because of what happened with the death of Brinks and to save her position. This leads to her kind of walking out of the gala, not making a scene or anything, but she realizes she's
the horse being paraded round the stables for a sale. And that's where, she, again, she's getting challenged by Kate and Jordan. But again, they don't know her, and she calls that out, and tells them her story. I'm the person that killed my parents because my superpowers that I never knew I had, and have effectively never seen my younger sister since that day, because she thinks I'm a monster. And you get this, Kate telling her story about her brother, like we mentioned earlier, and you have Jordan rolling in saying, making up a story about her grandmother, and she's like, no, I was just feeling left out.
I killed my granddad.
Yeah.
No.
But, and so it's like the beginning to understand that actually, there may be differences, but there's also a lot of similarities between each other, especially when you've been given Compound V without your own consent. I mean, in effect, it's like parents don't always know best. And in this case, they were given trial drugs, thinking or hoping that they were going to get a Queen Maeve or a Homelander, and in the end, they haven't, you know? So it was really good kind of moment of, this group coming together, I think, here, or getting closer, the start of getting closer and understanding one another.
I think that's it for the gala. Let's move on to our major moments, our senior moment from the episode. It's got to be Emma rescuing Sam. As Definitely. Emma is outside after being really pissed off with her mom, goes outside to smoke a joint. Andre comes out and joins her, and Andre shows her the photographs of Sam being trapped underground. I like Emma's reactions instantly is, can they do that to us? Can we be put down there? Really scared about the idea that this kid's down there and has been trapped. So of course Emma's going to stand up and help. So Andre wants her to climb in through a very small hole to get into the underground facility. Again, Emma also calls out, no matter what it was that he was going to ask, she was always going to say yes because it's Andre. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that she's going in completely stoned from the joint, which seems to have been amplified as she's shrunk down.
I was wondering about that. Yeah, when she does
that's kind of how I took it anyway.
Yeah, when she does the got it good.
Yeah, I love that. She goes in, heading on in. I love the fact that similar to the Wizard of Oz with the Wicked Witch and water being her downfall, Emma's downfall is that she can be easily captured by a plastic cup, as Sam captures her, but thinks it's just part of his kind of hallucinations and psychosis that he's having. And it's like, are you real? And she's like, and he begins asking her these questions that she's never going to know the answer to.
Hilarious.
Even she doesn't get it right with which movie was my favorite growing up, because she's like, well, you're a white male, so it's Godfather, Star Wars, or Shawshank.
Of course.
Three
great movies.
And it ends up being Waterworld.
Of course. I must say I like these two together, Sam and Emma.
Definitely.
But definitely shades to Sam's challenges that he has. So we did see a flashback at the beginning of the episode to Luke coming to visit Sam when he was acting out. Trying to calm his brother down. It worked quite well until one of the security guards behind him clicks the trigger of his gun, or clicks his gun. That
guard gets fisted
and gets a punch right through the entire body. And then Luke was thrown against the wall by Sam, so it was only with Kate intervening and being able to calm him down with her powers that he was safe. But we hear in the conversations between Emma and Sam that he's still saying, sometimes I get confused. Sometimes I don't know exactly what I'm doing. That's why he thinks that she's a figment of his imagination.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, those flashbacks to Luke again and to Sam were really good. I mean, even just Luke finding out that Sam, or he has been told that Sam has killed himself, and again, it was a really, really good moment with Kate where, he asks her to make the pain stop, and she's like, but it's just something that you have to go through.
Yeah.
Again, we see Kate actually being quite level-headed when people ask her to use her powers on her.
Yeah.
No, she can still use them to get a bottle of vodka, the good stuff, at the gala dinner. But, you know, like that thing, like she's absolutely right. This is just something you've got to go through.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that, you know? Andre knows that she would never tell him to not do what he's doing. Like in terms of the last episode where he's, wanting to investigate what, has caused Luke to get himself killed. So, you know, I really like Kate here. I think, and even her telling her truth to Marie as well, you know, that, okay, I might be in the top rank of rankings. I may have been in the popular group, you know, the ones most likely to get into the 7, but I've gone through crap as well.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
So this was really kind of good, I think. What was also really good was effectively, Emma with her first kill against her name. And I did like the panic in the security guard as he feels her effectively squidging down his ear hole. I mean, even I guess bursting through his eardrum would have been painful enough. And as you see her progression through his head, as you see each eye becoming slowly bloodshot as she makes her way.
And then on the other end, her fear, because he's got an earphone in, which is plugging in his ear, and she's not too sure whether she can break out. You can hear it as she's trying to push that earphone out of his ear.
Drowning in his blood.
Exactly.
Effectively.
Pretty brutal. But,
so really, like, I wasn't expecting Emma to do that, but I can see that's exactly what you would do. I mean, at least it's not down the front of a penis this time for someone who shrinks down.
Like Termite in The Boys season 3.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Remember, she has kind of modelled herself on. Obviously, she doesn't know much about him other than the Vaught propaganda around who Termite was. But I think she even references the fact that he's gone on a bender somewhere, but doesn't reference that he's dead. So I don't think that story's made it out yet.
Yeah, this was just superb, and I like that you kind of got the sense of a bit of rapport between Sam and Emma as well. You know, he's like going, you're effectively Alice in Wonderland. You know, you're so brave, you're pretty, and you also find out that she reverses the shrinking by eating.
Yes.
So she has to eat in order to get to her normal size again, but she's got to be careful about the calorie control, which you hear from her mother as well.
That's right.
Who believes she needs to be upping it slightly at this moment. And you kind of get that sense with a scene between Marie and Emma as Marie is back in the dorm and realizes that Emma's gone really, really small. Like she says, I've been fighting off ants all night. So it was from the previous episode when she goes back at night. It's just she can't hear Emma after she's come back into the dorm and she's been trapped sort of fighting off ants all night. So has to get fed slowly but surely. But there's still that tension until the toilet scene between the two of them, you know. But it's the start of that thaw from the previous episode. Because Emma is still going through what Justine had done, and she actually thinks Justine is apologizing to her until she realizes she's been filmed again. So the apology has to be filmed by Justine.
I want to show everybody how sorry I am, you know. But you also see her with a supe who has a tail, making her put the tail in her mouth.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think Justine's just in it all for herself.
But definitely.
But I did like this with Emma and Sam. Yeah, as you say, it's kind of cool to see that she's starting to have a little friendship there. There's some little sparks between the two of them. I like that, and again the fact that his reference is Alice in Wonderland for her, rather than focusing on the fact that she has to throw up to get small.
Absolutely. So, I thought that was a nice little touch.
So one thing about this, it's polarity that tells the security guards that she's broken in because of what he heard from Andre.
I'm
presume.
guessing.
Don't know for definite.
No, but I am guessing that because it's the only explanation I can think of, because I was thinking, well, how?
How would they know the tiny little creatures?
Yeah, exactly. I think the other interesting thing from this meeting of Emma and Sam is that she doesn't tell Sam that Luke is dead. She actually says Luke is the one that sent me.
Yes, that's right.
And his friends, to scope out his escape route.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, she finds out that he knows all the security codes anyway.
If he wanted to go, he would have gone.
Yeah, it's just, he actually thinks until she arrives that it's better for him to be where he is. Yeah. So, yeah, I like that as well. A little bit of a rug pull on the whole thing.
Good stuff. I think that's it for the major moments from the episode. Any notes, John?
No notes from my side.
Just one note from me. Another very special appearance from a pre-existing character in The Boys. We get to see at the Sage Grove Centre in the flashback at the beginning, we get to see Love Sausage, who played quite a significant role.
Well, at least part of him.
One part of him.
Yeah,
certainly played a big role. But yes, we see him behind the door in Sage Grove Centre.
It felt like a snake charmer was doing some work in the cell because it was just kind of like, as the head popped up, the tip popped up and sort of like looked around. So yes, Love Sausage experiencing the world through his very long love sausage.
Well, yes, good stuff. Overall then, John, what did you think of the third episode of Gen V Season 1? #ThinkBrink.
Yeah, I really like this. I'd give it 4.5. #Think Hansbrinks out of 5. Right. I just loved how, again, it all switched in this episode, with them all effectively realizing that adults are a bit of a nightmare, to be honest, whether it is Dean Shetty with her manipulation, or whether it's just their parents really projecting their own stuff onto their kids.
Yes.
And whether it is gender identity or whether it's the type of career that you should have.
Or selling a traumatic experience in their kids to turn it into something that will make them famous. Yeah.
So I really, really enjoyed this, and I liked how, in a sense, the group, with all this happening in the background as context, kind of drew closer, whether it was Andre recruiting Emma to scope out the underground cells on the campus, or whether it was just that conversation between Marie and Kate, where it started off with, again, you just thought it was going to be another kind of go at Marie, but it ends up where, you have Kate just pulling the seat up, so that Marie can hear her story and they can just have a drink of vodka, as well as Marie and Emma, making up, in the loo cubicle. Yeah. So yeah, this was really good. I really enjoyed it. I like how this is going for sure, and I can't wait to see how Emma gets out of her gross situation with all those guards running into Sam's cell at the end for the next episode. So yeah, for #Think Hansbrinks out of 5.
Excellent stuff. I think we need our third and final drink for this epic session of recording on Gen V.
Certainly do.
I'm glad we aren't taking this amount of drinks while recording a podcast.
No, definitely not.
I wouldn't be able to see the notes at this stage.
I wouldn't either. But we are going, fellow boys and girls, fellow quizzers, to the pub quiz. Yes, it is a gala event being held in the pub. But get the best bottle of vodka from the top shelf. Maybe go through the top shelf if you wish. But we are on to question 3. What free drink does Kate want to get at the Professor Brinkerhoff Memorial Gala? #Think Drink.
I like it. I think John may have given lots of clues to what that could possibly be throughout this episode.
Maybe.
You might have.
Yes.
I want to give the question one more time, John.
Sure. What free drink does Kate want to get at the Professor Brinkerhoff Memorial Gala? #Think Drink.
Excellent. All of those questions should be up on the website at tvpodcastindustries.com in case you missed them. We'll be putting all 8 questions up there across the course of the season. Collect all 8 answers together and email them to us at the end of the season to feedback at tvpodcastindustries.com, and you could be in the chance of getting your hands on some Gen V goodies. Thanks so much for joining us for this epic discussion about the first 3 episodes of Gen V. Really enjoyed jumping into this brand new series, which really feels part of the world.
Definitely.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
It feels like one of those spin-offs that's actually really connected to the boys. I kind of like the idea that it's taking its jumping off point from the fact that these parents will have chosen to give their children this compound V and what that's doing to all of them and their relationship with their parents. I think that is a really interesting story to tell within this world.
Yes, thanks so much for listening. Just to say, please subscribe, share, and rate the podcast. You can do that on any podcast player of your choice that you listen to us on. And of course, please share the podcast, because sharing the podcast is, of course,
sharing the love. Sharing the love sausage.
Yes, exactly. All the chocolate starfishes. Who knows?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, we are covering lots of other shows in TV podcast industries at the moment. We're just finishing up our coverage of Star Wars Ahsoka. At the moment, we're on the penultimate episode of that. We're also on the penultimate episode of the excellent Wheel of Time Season 2, also available on Prime Video. And next week, we'll be going back to Marvel with Loki Season 2 coming to Disney Plus as well. So lots and lots of stuff. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast at tvpodcastindustries.com. That's our main feed. That's where you'll get episodes of each of those shows as they release each week. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back with Gen V Episode 4, The Whole Truth, and the next question in our pub quiz next week, and hopefully some of your feedback.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us, fellow boys and girls. Until next time, when we hit Episode 4, keep watching and keep listening.
Bye.
Bye.